want to be in this video.
Too late. The Russian SKS. This was the second firearm I ever bought, for a few reasons. Let's take a closer look at it. Its full designation is the SKS-45. And the name basically means self-loading carbine of the Simonov system, Sergei Simonov being the name of the designer. The 45, of course, refers to the fact the gun came out in 1945. Unfortunately, it was a little too late to get any wide use in the Second World War, and a few drawbacks, such as the 10-round fixed magazines, led to it being replaced by the AK-47 in the early 1950s. Although the Soviet Army didn't use the SKS as their official battle rifle for very long, like I said, by the early 1950s they already replaced it with the AK-47. The Russians did keep it around for a ceremonial arm. I think the Chinese use it for a ceremonial arm too. A lot of countries took the SKS on as their own. Okay, so even though, you know, the Russians didn't use it for very long, the Chinese made their own version of the SKS, and I believe they still make those to this day. Yugoslavia made their versions of the SKS, which had an integrated grenade launcher on the end of the barrel. Romania, East Germany, Vietnam, North Korea, a lot of countries either made their own versions of the SKS or used versions of the SKS as their, you know, main military issued rifle. So there's a lot of them out there. Around here in North America, when you're looking at buying an SKS, you'll either run into the Chinese, the Yugoslavian, or the Russian ones. Personally, I wanted a Russian one because I just wanted to say I have the original. You know, the Russian ones were the first ones. Mine's from the early 50s, and I just wanted, personally, I wanted a Russian one. Although I've heard the build quality, even on the Chinese ones, is pretty much on par. This gun fires the famous 7.62 by 39 round. The same round that was used in the later AK-47. So this is the internal 10-round magazine. Like a lot of rifles from its era, it was fairly common that you had to load them through the top. Okay? So this is something called a stripper clip. And a stripper clip basically just holds your rounds so that they're easier to load into the gun. Now normally an SKS would hold 10 rounds, as I mentioned. It's designed to be a 10-round magazine, but unfortunately here in Canada, these magazines are pinned so that they only hold 5 rounds. They're modified when these get imported into Canada. Okay, but anyways, basically the stripper clip, you take it, place it in the notch in the top of the bolt, and push down, and there you go. You've loaded 5 rounds into the magazine from the stripper clip into the magazine. Okay, now this bolt automatically locked back when the magazine was empty. Now that there's rounds in the magazine, if we were to pull the bolt back and release it, it would automatically unlock and load the first round into the chamber. It's not a detachable magazine in the way you reload it, but it does have a trap door, which just a quick way to unload the magazine. Well, a lot of guns that were used during World War II, were still using stripper clips. They were still using internal magazines. You know, by the mid to late 40s, most of the guns were moving to a detachable magazine, like the AK-47 that replaced this. Now, obviously, on the battlefield, having preloaded magazines, having higher capacity magazines, and being able to change them that much quicker is a definite advantage. There's no denying the SKS was designed for the battlefield. As you've already seen, it has an incorporated bayonet. The bayonet is attached at a swivel and it's spring loaded. So you simply pull it off the barrel, swivel it, and it will lock into place. The gun also includes a built-in cleaning kit. Underneath the barrel is a cleaning rod. When you have the bayonet unlocked, the cleaning rod will come out. When the bayonet's fully extended or fully locked in, it also holds the cleaning rod in. So pretty neat design there. Also in the buttstock, there's a spring-loaded door. We open that up, the rest of the cleaning kit comes out. So in here you've got a handle, and you know, you've got your various brushes. As I mentioned, the gun was clearly designed for the battlefield. The whole gun can be disassembled without any tools. Starting with the bolt and the bolt carrier, simply pull this lever up on the end of the receiver, pull it out. Notice it stays in place so you can't lose it. This allows you to take the top cover off of the receiver and the recoil spring out. As you can see, it's all attached. There's no small parts that come flying off. Once you've done that, it's as easy as that. The bolt and the bolt carrier. As I mentioned, similar gas system to the AK-47. That means that it's piston operated. We've got another lever here. Pull this lever out and your piston cylinder comes off, and there's the gas piston. There's a small button behind the trigger guard here. This can only be pushed in when the safety is on. Pushing it in unlocks the trigger assembly from the receiver. So there's the trigger assembly, the safety, and the hammer. Once you have the trigger assembly out, the magazine simply pops out. Like I said, this is an internal magazine designed to be a 10-round magazine. It does have a trap door which allows you to quickly unload the gun, but of course during battle conditions you can't swap the magazines. You have to load it in to the top. And once you have the trigger assembly and the magazine out, the whole receiver and barrel assembly, we have to move the bayonet, will come out of the stock. There we go. You can see that pops out like so, and you're just left with the wooden stock. As you can see, the whole gun can be disassembled really within no time at all, and no tools required. Now that you've seen the piston inside this gas tube, I can maybe explain a little bit about what gas operated means. Most automatic rifles are gas operated, whether it's an AR-15 or an M16 or this gun here or an AK-47, whether it's semi-automatic or fully automatic. The basic principles of how they work are the same. On almost all automatic guns, the principle of how the system works is the same, and the key is the bolt. Okay? When the bolt goes forward, it pushes a new round from the magazine into the chamber. When it's fired, the bolt comes back and pulls the empty shell out. New round in, empty shell out. New round in, empty shell out. And this is a cycle that continues over and over again. Okay? Whether it's one pull of the trigger, every time you pull the trigger, pop, 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 or fully automatic if you're holding down the trigger. The principle of how this works doesn't change. So where does the energy come that pushes this back? You know, when every round is fired, this thing flies back, once again pulling out the empty shell, bringing in a new round. The energy has to come from somewhere to cause this thing to actuate. When the bullet's fired and being pushed out the barrel, you have all these hot expanding gases from the burning gunpowder behind it. When the bullet gets past this point of the barrel, there's a small hole in the barrel. With all this hot pressure is going to come up and push on this piston. And every time this piston gets pushed back, it pushes the bolt back. And that's the basic operation of how a gas-operated rifle works. Once again, semi-automatic or fully automatic. The markings on top of the receiver cover indicate that this gun was manufactured in the Tula factory in 1953. You'll also find serial numbers on every part. There's a serial number on the bolt and on the bolt carrier, obviously on the receiver. Now I think all the serial numbers on mine match, except for the serial number on the stock. And that's very common because when these things get refurbished, they do change the stock. So what they'll do is they'll cross out the old serial number and they'll punch in the new serial number. Because the gun has been around for so long and it's become so popular in North America, there's so many people in North America and around the world that have bought them second hand. There is a fair bit of aftermarket for them. Tapco makes a stock that you can buy for about $100 that'll give you a pistol grip handle, an adjustable buttstock, and it gives you some mounting rails to mount accessories on the gun. And there's also a few different bullpup style stocks I've seen out there where you take all your internals from your SKS and you just swap the stock. And as you can see, it really changes the look and feel of the gun just by changing the stock. There's also some modifications people have done to put removable magazines on the gun. I believe with the Tapco stock, you can use the Tapco magazines, and others have modified an SKS to take in a standard AK magazine. I paid $219 for mine, and once again, this is a Tula 1953. This is a Russian SKS in very good condition for $219 Canadian. They really are an exceptional value, and they're only starting to go up in price now. So if you get one now or you have one now and you hang on to it, it's only going to go up in value. These things are also extremely reliable. They have an amazing track record for reliability. I definitely recommend the SKS. Most people who are into firearms are very familiar with the SKS. I know a lot of people personally who own SKSs, and for a lot of them it was, you know, one of the first or second guns they ever bought because of the value.